Gotta practice my stabbing skills. 998. 999. 1,000. Ain't no way I'm going back to prison. Ain't no way. They never gonna catch me. They'll never take me alive. Let's record that NES pickups video that I had planned. Let's get started on that. All right, where's the record button? There we go. I'm legally insane. And here are 13 NES pickups, all bangers, every single one. I do not get bad games. If I touch a game, it's a banger. That's basically how it works. I have the golden touch. I don't know. It's just every game I touch turns into be a great game. There's no such thing as a bad game because even bad games can be fun. So let's check out what I picked up. I'll pretty much collect any retro console out there, and any console that I don't currently have games for, I plan to get at some point in the future if I get rich enough to do it. Like the Atari Lynx, I would love to own an Atari Lynx. It's a handheld console, by the way. I would love to own 8 of them because there's a game called Slime World for that game, and it's actually 8-player, and it's the only way that you can play Slime World 8-player. There's a Slime World for Sega Genesis, but the Atari Lynx is the golden age of Slime World. It's actually 8 players, and you can link up 8 consoles together. But enough about Slime World. Let's get into the NES games that I've picked up recently, because I got some real gems in here. So we're going to start off strong. This is a well-known game today, but it wasn't so well-known when it came out. And this is Metal Gear. So this is a Konami game, as you may be aware, because Metal Gear is a huge franchise now, but it was published under the Ultra brand, which is a subsidiary of Konami. And for those that are unaware, the reason why they had to do that is because Nintendo had a rule in North America where you could only release 5 titles per year, and Konami was secretly getting around that rule by creating this subsidiary called Ultra. So this is actually a Konami game, but what's little known about the original Metal Gear, it is a reworked port of the original. The original was made by Hideo Kojima, as everyone knows by now. But this reworked port Hideo had nothing to do with this game. So this is actually very different from the original Metal Gear. And you can still find the original Metal Gear. It was released for the MSX or something. I forget what it's called. I don't care about that because this is the North American version. This is the version that we here in North America know about. I'm pretty sure Europe got the same version. So this is the Hideo Kojima version to the rest of us. And you know what? It's still based on the original. It's basically the original, all right? So this is a stealth action game, and as far as I know, this is known to be the very first stealth-based game ever made. As far as I know, this is the first. This is the OG. Hideo had created a brand new genre of game with the release of Metal Gear for the NES. So the focus, although there is action, the focus is really on the stealth and the survival mechanics. In fact, the game basically punishes you for avoiding the stealth and going in guns blazing. You can do that. You can go in guns blazing, but it's going to have consequences. So you might be thinking, well, why did I get the NES version when I could just get the Metal Gear Solid collection, especially knowing that there's a new collection coming out for the Nintendo Switch. And I happen to love the Nintendo Switch. It's coming out for the PS5 and other consoles too. But the reason I got the NES version, because I did think about that. I thought maybe I shouldn't get this, even though I really want it, because I could get the Nintendo Switch version. And then I thought, well, wait a minute. I looked into the NES or the Nintendo Switch version, and apparently a couple of games on the Switch version specifically are going to be download only. because the cart isn't big enough to hold all the freaking games. Whereas the PS5 and the Xbox, you're going to get all the games on one CD. So I said, no way, buddy. That pisses me off. I'm not a fan of that. I'm not downloading any games. If I'm going to buy a physical game, it dang well better be complete, no DLC. Like, I don't want to have to download games because these servers aren't going to be around forever. Okay, I'm not downloading a freaking game. And I don't care. I know that they probably have the NES one on there. You're not going to have to download this one. It only takes up like 5 kilobytes. But I don't care. It's the principle of the matter. So based on that, I'm no longer purchasing that game. I'm not getting the Metal Gear Collection for the Nintendo Switch. I'm not getting it. But number two, the reason why you would want to get this version over any other version is, number one, you get to play on original hardware, which is unlike any other experience that you could ever get. It's a magical experience that only those who have played the original hardware, and especially those that grew up with the original hardware, being the NES and the NES controller, those are the people that are going to understand what I'm talking about. And if you didn't grow up with it, you might not be able to get that nostalgia, or you might not understand. Especially if you're a young buck growing up in the digital world, you just don't get it, man. You're going to have to go and experience it for yourself. So that's number one. There's nothing could beat original hardware with an original NES controller, the way it was meant to be played. But number two, more importantly, is that with the NES version, you can use a Game Genie, and you can get cheat codes. And I'm a huge fan of cheat codes in my old age, especially games that are difficult that I'm not able to beat. Okay, when I was younger, I didn't mind not being able to beat a game. But now when I play them, I want to be able to beat them. And I'm not good enough to beat them. That's just the way it is. I'm not some friggin' fantastic whiz kid gamer from the 90s movie The Wizard. I'm not the Wizard. All right? I'm not that kid that can beat every game and gets high scores just first time playing. Only the Wizard can do that, and I'm not the Wizard. So I want to play this with the Game Genie. And also, I wanted to point out as well, I didn't know about this game when I was younger. I never saw it in the rental stores. I never knew any kid that had it. So I don't think it was all that popular. I mean, obviously it was a huge hit, and it was popular, but it never hit that top tier level with your Contras, your Marios, your Dr. Marios, Tetris, all the games that every kid and their mother knew. This wasn't not one of them, because I didn't know a single kid that owned it. So I totally missed the boat on this. I would have killed to be able to have rented this back in the day. So this is my first time owning it, and my first time playing it. And on that note, the second game that I got should be pretty obvious. I got the sequel. Oh, by the way, for Metal Gear 1, I paid $13, and it price charts for $20. So as you know, I don't buy any game unless I get a deal. This is Metal Gear Snake's Revenge. And so I did some digging on this. Great condition, by the way. Did some digging on this, and this is like the unofficial sequel, because there's a separate Metal Gear 2, and that was only released in Japan, and we never got it here in North America. So this is a sequel that was made without anything having to do with Hideo Kojima. He had nothing to do with this game, and it was based on nothing he ever created. So a whole different development team made this, and I find that it's more action-based than the first one. There seems to be a little bit more action in it, and you start with more weapons, whereas this one you don't. This one you get like a whole much more starting weapons. So I think they were trying to make it a little bit more action-based. Maybe they thought that would make it more popular, especially here in North America with success like Contra and stuff. I'm not sure, but this is kind of the black sheep. Some people say it sucks. I don't think it sucks. I think it's great. It's a friggin' awesome game. I don't know who says it sucks. Like you guys have, your expectations are too high. Lower your expectations. Not every game is a AAA 10 out of 10 game. Okay? Oh, the other thing that's actually really good about this game that I would say is perhaps makes it better than the original Metal Gear is I was looking up the Game Genie codes, and I found a lot more codes for this version that are actually useful and helpful and fun to use. Like unlimited weapons, any weapon you want, you can select unlimited ammo, starting unlimited weapons. Just, I forget all the codes exactly, but way more codes than what they give you with this game. This game had more codes that give you negative effects, where they take away weapons. I said, well, who the hell's doing that? Who's trying to make the game more difficult? Stop making Game Genie codes where the game actually gets harder. I'm looking for games that make it easier, or codes that make it easier, and this game has plenty of them. So I happen to love that. I'm a big fan of that. Huge fan. Oh, this is a real gem. These are in no particular order, by the way. So this is Wayne Gretzky Hockey, mint condition. I'm especially a fan of very good condition games, especially in my older age, as I take collecting more seriously, I guess you could say. Whereas when I first started collecting, it was more of a lesser hobby of mine. It was still a hobby, but I guess you could say I didn't take it as seriously, or perhaps probably because I didn't have that much money back then. So I didn't care too much about condition, but now I'm really picky on condition when I can be. So if I see something in mint condition, I'm very happy to pick it up. So this game, okay, so I paid $10. It price charts for $16.77. Came out in 1988. It sold fairly well. 350,000 copies of Wayne Gretzky's Hockey for the NES were sold. And this is a game I never played this back in the day. Have no nostalgia for it whatsoever. I really do like Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, though, for the N64. That's one of my favorite hockey games. It's a friggin' awesome game. Played the hell out of that one. That game's rigged, by the way. Let me tell you about that game. We're getting off topic here, but friggin' Wayne Gretzky 3D Hockey, the original. I played that game. I was doing a full season. And I was winning every game. So my plan was to complete a season and go undefeated. And, maybe I got 20, 30 games in, who knows, into this full season. I've got a save file, and anytime I was about to lose, I would just reset the game. I just wouldn't save the game, reset, do the match over again. Okay? So I never lost. Until I came up with, I was against Edmonton Oilers. And I swear, I'm not kidding, the game was rigged to the point where it would not let you have an undefeated season. Because no matter what I did, I could not beat this team. And here I've gone 30 games undefeated. And all of a sudden I'm up against Edmonton Oilers. I'm not even kidding. I even brought friends over that were experts at this game. And I gave them the controller. We tried to beat the Edmonton Oilers. Even if you were up by 3 goals with 10 seconds left, the computer would find a way to score 3 goals within those 10 seconds. Actually, they would probably get four goals within the 10 seconds so that they would be guaranteed to win. There was no tie. They won. Okay, maybe, I don't know, maybe it did tie, but I wanted to win. So I don't remember if we could ever actually tie with them or not. But regardless, the game wouldn't let you win. It was insane. I might still have that save file. If it was saved directly on the game, I don't have my original anymore. But anyways, so Wayne Gretzky's Hockey for the NES. I looked into this one. It's a side-scrolling hockey game just like Blades of Steel. It's obviously nowhere near as good as Blades of Steel. But I looked into it, and it's actually not bad. There are people that look fondly upon this game, and I'm a big fan of old-school hockey games. I don't play the new school stuff. I like NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. That's the golden age of sports. Occasionally, you'll find a good PlayStation or N64 sports game or a Dreamcast sports game. But the golden age was the NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, hands down. And back then, they would make these side-scrolling hockey games. They don't make those anymore. The EA NHL series, they started doing that top-down. You go up and down the rink. You don't do side-scrolling anymore. So I looked into it, and yeah, a lot of people look fondly upon this game. It's different from Blades of Steel. It's just different. It's not as good, obviously. Nothing beats Blades of Steel. So I'm very happy with this. And these kind of sports games are meant to be played two-player, right? So, and you know what? Probably it sold the 350,000 units just because of the Wayne Gretzky name. And probably without Wayne Gretzky, maybe it would have got 100,000 tops, maybe 50,000. Let's be honest, Wayne Gretzky, you put him on a game back in the 80s. When did this come out? 1988. Wayne Gretzky. So he had just been traded to the LA Kings at this time. Just barely came out after he was traded. So he's not Edmonton Oilers. He's LA Kings, but only just barely. Oh yeah, here's another good one. I got Super Mario 3. Mint condition. What did I pay for this? I think I forgot to write it down, but I think it was $9. No, $7 or $8 maybe. Maybe 9, who knows. But I originally bought it to give to a coworker of mine because she has young kids, and long story short, she had a box of NES games, and I was helping her out to price them out. She was going to throw them in the garbage, by the way. Boxed NES games. She had Contra, complete in box, Zeldas, Contras. She had thousands of dollars worth of games. She was going to throw them in the garbage. So even in 2023, this actually happened in 2022, because I've got such a huge backlog of games that I'm going through, because I buy them faster than I can make these videos. But she had thousands of dollars worth of games. She was going to throw them in the garbage. She had heard through word of mouth at work that I was known as the Retro Game King. And so she came to me to ask, hey, can you look into these? Are these worth anything? And I looked into them. So I was going to buy this for her. But then I never did give it to her, so I've decided, obviously, I'm going to keep it. And I'll probably sell it because it does sell on eBay commonly between $20 and $33 commonly. So good condition copy, you'll get $25 easy for a good condition copy. Easy. And these sell all day, every day. The last 3 days of sold listings, I've seen 8 copies sold every single day, except for the third day there was like 2 or 3. So 8 copies August 12th, 8 copies August 11th, and it was like August, 10th, 2 or 3 copies. So these sell all day, every day. And you put up a mint condition one, you'll get $25. Just be patient. Easy $25. Hell, you throw it up. Frig, man, this is mint enough that I might even ask for $26, $27. Somebody will pick it up. You just make sure that you advertise it's mint condition. Here's one. So this is Dr. Mario. I only paid $3. And I'm not a fan of puzzle games, but I did get ripped off a little bit. I'm really pissed off because the condition is very poor. It's got a chip in it. Seller didn't post a picture of that, so I'm pissed off about that. But for $3, I mean, it's a steal of a freaking deal. What's this? The price chart's for $11.81, so it's about $12. But I got this because a friend of mine got me into this game. I went over at his house maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and we started playing Dr. Mario. He's huge into Dr. Mario. And he kind of taught me how to play because I actually didn't really know. I completely ignored this game back in the day because I hate puzzle games. Did I mention that? Puzzle games friggin' suck. Except for Tetris number 1 and 2. Every other puzzle game sucks. And so he taught me how to play, and he showed me the 2-player mode and how if you do these certain combos and or eliminate multiple pills at the same time, or multiple viruses, at the same time, it'll like throw a whole bunch of blocks or something on your opponent's side of the screen. So it's very competitive in two-player mode, and although I sucked at it and I had no chance to beat him, we would try to handicap him a little bit to try and balance it out. It was still fun, and I saw the appeal to it, and it makes for a great multiplayer game, especially if you're looking for two-player games to play with somebody who's not big into gaming. A lot of the non-gamers like puzzle games. That's a common thing. My mother plays puzzle games. My mother never touched a video game in her life. But guess what? She played the hell out of Tetris. She beat Tetris. There's 99 levels in Tetris, and after you beat the game, it just goes right back to 0. That's how good my mother was at Tetris. Speaking of puzzle games, here's classic Concentration based on the challenging television game show. I don't know why I bought this. I'm legally insane. That must be the only explanation, to be honest. But this is a puzzle game based on the game show, which is based on the children's game called Concentration. It's just Concentration. That's all it is. I don't even know why or how they made a television game on it. But what is interesting about this is that it is an uncommon game. So I paid $10 for it, and it's so uncommon that sometimes eBay sold listings go up to the $20 or higher level, just because it's not always posted and you can't always get one in good condition. And you know what? Let's be honest, guys, I'm a sucker for a bad game. So I thought this game was kind of funny, and because it's uncommon, I decided, hell, I'm going to bid on it. And by the way, I got into a bidding war on this. Some other bastard, I guess, was thinking the same dang thing. He was thinking, hey, that's an uncommon game. That's a friggin' mint condition copy of that uncommon game, and I don't want to pay $20 on eBay for a mint condition copy. So we had a little bidding war going on, and I ended up winning for $10. All right, here's a little gem. Not everyone knows about this. This is Mick Kids. This is a McDonald's game. And there is some history behind this. I remember hearing about this in one of the ebooks. Hell, it might have even been Console Wars. I don't remember. I wish I could remember the history on how this McDonald's game came to be. There was some history on that, and I wish I could remember. So what did I pay for this? Paid $16. It's actually a little bit of a rare game or uncommon game. Popular, a very expensive game for what it is, because the price starts for $26.87. This came out in 1992, I believe. A little bit of a late release, in which case it's got really terrible graphics for being a 1992 game. It does have a two-player mode, but it's not simultaneous two-player. So I think that's where they really messed up, because I think they could have easily made this simultaneous two-player. It's a platformer. It's a rip-off of Mario. This is like a cheap, poor man's version of Mario. It's not terrible. It's average at best. And I remember I had a friend that had this back in the day. And so I do remember playing it, and I remember watching him play it. And I thought it was interesting. And it's kind of an interesting piece of history, because McDonald's doesn't make games anymore. And the other thing that you need to know about this game is that they made a sequel. Although it was an unofficial sequel. It was a spiritual successor. It was called, I wrote it down, Global Gladiators, that's what it was. It was called Global Gladiators for the Sega Genesis. And I think that game's actually awesome. In that game you actually get a gun and weapons and stuff. This game you don't get any weapons. It's more like legit. It's Super Mario. But the power-ups suck. So in my opinion, the Sega Genesis game is actually pretty good. And then they made another McDonald's game. So around this version of McDonald's, very average at best. Sega Genesis game, average to above average. But then they made a third one called McDonald's Treasure Land. McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure. Sega frickin' Genesis. You are Ronald McDonald in that game, and it is one of the best Sega Genesis games ever made. And I meant to buy it CIB years ago for like $40 on eBay. which at the time was a little bit expensive. And I was trying to nickel and dime, trying to save a couple of bucks. I was messaging sellers, hey man, could you give me $5 off? None of them ever did. And now it's like a $200+ game CIB. So I screwed myself on that one. And I do plan to buy it one day. But yeah, this is McKids. It's an alright game. I'm more than happy to have it in my collection. I also got Mega Man 2. Believe it or not, this is only the very second Mega Man game for the NES that I've ever owned in my entire life. I've never owned a Mega Man game up until recently. In a previous pickups video, I had Mega Man 3, which is the very first Mega Man I ever got. I forgot to write down what I paid for it. I think it was probably $25, which is a pretty good deal. I got this because, one, it's awesome, but two, I've been kind of priced out on a lot of those other Mega Man games. I'm not willing to spend hundreds of dollars to get Mega Man 4, 5, and 6, and I don't care for Mega Man 1. So the cheaper of the Mega Man games is Mega Man 2 and 3. And they also happen to be arguably the better Mega Man games. Very much arguably, because Mega Man 5 and 6 are pretty friggin' awesome. But these are like the OG classics, the most known and most played Mega Mans. Some people will tell you that Mega Man 2 is the best Mega Man ever made. Some people might even tell you Mega Man 3 is the best Mega Man ever made, which I might even argue for, because guess what? They introduced Proto Man in number 3, and Proto Man has one of the best theme songs ever made. Proto Man added a story element to Mega Man that actually brought out a lot of emotion, and it's a very serious storyline. Proto Man really put Mega Man on the map for being more than just a mindless action game. I'm a huge fan of Proto Man. So you know what? Hell, Mega Man 3 beats Mega Man 2. By default, because it has Proto Man. That's the introduction of Proto Man, which is the introduction of a very serious storyline for Mega Man. That's his brother, by the way. I'm not going to ruin the story. I'm not going to tell you any much more about Proto Man. But he does make much more appearance. He doesn't just appear in Mega Man 3. He then makes other appearances as well. I also got Double Dribble and Bases Loaded for $1 each, and that's the only reason I bought them, because I own both of them. But Bases Loaded, my memory's actually foggy on this one. I always get it confused with RBI Baseball. I can't remember which one was my favorite. It was either RBI Baseball number 2 or Bases Loaded number 2. And I cannot for the life of me remember. I get the two of them confused. But one of them is one of my favorite baseball games of all time. I couldn't tell you which one, though. I honestly don't remember. I'd have to go back and play both of them to kind of trigger my memory on which one is which. I owned both Bases Loaded and RBI Baseball back in the day. And which is why I can't remember which one it was that I preferred. And it was number 2 that I preferred the most. And I had number 1 of probably both of them as well. But I always went to number 2. And I'm pretty sure I had number 3 of at least one of them as well back in the day. But I went to number 2. It was my favorite. And Double Dribble, although it doesn't hold up very well today, per se, I still think it's one of the best basketball games ever made. It's simplistic. What is there? Pass and a shoot button. That's all. It's so simple. And yeah, I played the hell out of this. 2-player matches all day, every day. I had a buddy that would come over and we'd play Double Dribble all the time. Friggin' awesome game. And by the way, there's a really funny clip. I might put it up, but I'll probably get banned from YouTube. That Family Guy did related to Double Dribble, where they played Double Dribble. So check that out on YouTube. It's friggin' hilarious. And if you know that secret, basically Peter abuses... I guess you could say glitch in the game or bug in the game where you can just drop threes all day, every day. Just buckets after buckets all day, you never miss. So I don't know if they purposely put that in the game or if that's a glitch in the game or what the deal is. But if you learn the glitch, you can bring a buddy over and do the glitch. And if he doesn't know the glitch, he'll just think that you're an expert at the game. You'll just absolutely wreck the guy. So try it on a buddy. It'll be funny. It'll be funny. Trust me. You'll be dropping threes. Every shot you do will be a guaranteed three-pointer. The entire game. It's a really good way to piss off a friend. It's a really good way to end a friendship, actually. I love games that end friendships. I played so many of them back in the day, and I did have friendship-ruining games that I played. I've legitimately lost friends from video games. I think it's hilarious. I love it. Yeah. Oh, I mean, the stories I could tell you. Okay, I'm getting off topic, but I'm going to tell you. Diablo 1 for the PlayStation 1. Oh, that's a killer game. Like, you will murder your friend in real life, or he will murder you. So let me give you an example. Friendly fire is enabled in Diablo 1, PS1. You cannot turn it off. And it's very difficult to not accidentally hit your friend. When you're an archer, I was the Amazon, or what they call her, the rogue in PS1, or Diablo 1. I was the rogue, so I'm shooting arrows all day. Casting spells here or there. I'm going to hit you with an arrow at some point. And same with the wizard. He's going to hit you at some point, especially if you get the spark wand or cast the spark spell. It shoots 3 sparks out, and they go in like a random pattern all over the map. You're going to get hit with the spark. And that game, it costs money to heal yourself. Healing potions ain't cheap, buddy. You just hit me with an arrow. So here's what would happen. If you hit your buddy, maybe one time he'll let it go. Okay, you hit me, all right, buddy, I'm going to have to use a potion now. Kind of pissed off. But I'll let it slide. But you hit me twice, you hit me 3 times? Okay, buddy. Now, what you do, this is how it starts. Okay, you just hit me twice. Now I get to hit you. So then he'll come over, maybe he's the warrior. He'll come over, he'll swing at you. You let him swing. You say, all right, you get a free hit. I messed up, you get to hit me now. He'll hit you. But frig, man, that sword hurts. That sword did more damage than the 2 arrows did that I hit you with. I have to use a greater healing potion. You only had to use a lesser healing potion. So now I get to hit you back. And then you'll go back and forth until the point, and I've done this before, until the point where your friend is running away for his life, and you're stuck on the same screen, and you're chasing him, casting the spark spell wand, and casting sparks everywhere, and he's running for his life, crying out for mercy. And guess what? If he dies, you can loot all of his items. Oh yeah, it's serious business, guys. Oh my gosh. Save that one for another day. Okay, save the best for last. Next up is RoboCop. I accidentally bought 2 copies of this. I actually now own 3 copies, so technically I accidentally bought 2 because I already own it. I think I paid $8 for one and $9 for the other. Price charts for $11.58. I forgot that I owned it. I bid on hundreds of games every week. I forgot that I owned it. Private auction groups on Facebook. I can't tell you about them because you're going to outbid me. So this game came out in 1988. A lot of these games came out in 1988, actually. I think I forgot to mention what year some of the other ones came out. But 1998, there's a lot of friggin' bangers coming out in this year. Huge game for video. Friggin' huge year. I think Metal Gear even came out in 1988. Wayne Gretzky came out in 1988. So this game was an adaptation of the arcade game, is my understanding. The arcade game is friggin' awesome. A lot of people don't like this game. Partly because the difficulty is quite high, I will admit. In my opinion, the game only has one flaw, which is the fact that there's a timer. And in a game that's difficult like this, and in a game where you move very slowly, they shouldn't have a timer. So I don't know if there was a timer in the arcade version. Maybe that's why they put a timer in this game, but they should never have put a timer in the game. They really messed up there. But other than ignore the timer, let's ignore the timer. I really like this game because And I rented this back in the day. This was a rental for me. I've never owned it, but I rented it multiple times. I really felt, it made you feel like you were actually RoboCop. I liked the fact that you move slow. I actually enjoyed that. It made me feel like I was this big tank. And you'll take a lot of damage. You'll get hit a lot, partly because you move so friggin' slow. And that never bothered me. I said, well, that kind of feels like your RoboCop. Hey, RoboCop, he can't, he doesn't friggin' dodge stuff. He moves slow and he takes bullets to the face. That's what he does. Because he's got this armor on. And there's a lot of different weapons in this game. So, ignoring the fact that it's rather difficult, it is a very fun game. I was never able to beat it. Probably the average person would not be able to beat it. It is beatable. You can find people on YouTube that actually legitimately beat the game without cheating. It is beatable. But if you're like me and you are not good enough to beat it, or you don't want to put the amount of time required in to beat the game, then guess what? You can use a Game Genie. And this game's perfect for the Game Genie. I love the Game Genie. And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing with this game. This is a Game Genie friendly game. Friggin' love that Game Genie, guys. You got to get a Game Genie. Best for last is a game called Guardian Frickin' Legend. Because this game is legendary. It's a hidden gem to this day. Not enough people know about this game. And back in the day, I didn't know about this game either. And it's still a very, very cheap game that you can pick up. I paid $20 for this. What's this price chart for? I wrote it down somewhere. Oh, I didn't write down what price chart's for, but I paid $20 for it. I'll find out what a price chart's for. Maybe I'll put it up on screen. Okay, so... Oh yeah, by the way, mine has a cool sticker at the back. I've actually learned to enjoy stickers in my old age. So this came from Game Time Incorporated. Instant cash for used video games. Very cool. I'm like John Hancock now. I think stickers are pretty cool because they show history. It's a going back in time to when retro video game stores were on every street corner, or used video game stores. And now retro video game stores are very niche. Probably thanks to eBay, to be honest, and the fact that you can just buy them online so easily. But back in the day, you didn't have eBay. You had to go to the used video game stores. Okay, so this game, first thing you need to know about this is that many will tell you it's in the top 10 NES games ever made. And if you don't have it in the top 10, it's in the top 20. It's guaranteed. There's no exception. And if somebody didn't have this in the top 10, they didn't make a proper top 10 or top 20 list. Because this has to be in by default. It's that good of a game. So what you need to know about this game is it's one of the few games that mixes two genres together and does it well. Whereas both genres are 10 out of 10.
Was blazing in Zelda. The adventure was a blast with Link. Now experience Guardian Legend. Guardian Legend, the most action-packed adventure of all time. Killer crabs, mutant lobsters, secret passages, spectacular transformations, shooting cyclops, deadly jaws, exploding anemones, devious traps, unlimited firepower, a large choice of weapons, and more action than you ever thought possible. Guardian Legend.
So there's a top-down action portion of the game. When you enter the labyrinth, it's called, that's where you're doing this top-down action, where you get a whole bunch of mostly guns, but there are some hand-to-hand combat weapons, like there's a laser sword, so there's a lot of variety in the power-ups, and there's also a shoot-'em-up section of the game, and so you're constantly switching back and forth. And there are tons of weapons, so there are 12 different weapons, 12 power-ups. And every weapon can be powered up 3 times. So if you add that into the equation, that's 12 times 3 equal of power-ups. What is that, 36? 36 friggin' weapons in the game. because if you include power-ups. So in the game, you will be collecting what is equivalent to money, which will allow you to purchase more items. So it kind of feels like an RPG. It's kind of like a Zelda RPG type of thing. There's a big giant map, a couple of puzzles to solve. The game tries to give you hints on how to solve the puzzles, which allows you to progress throughout the labyrinth. And some of the puzzles are kind of dumb. Some of them are too easy. Some of them are arguably a little bit too hard. But you can cheat, and hell, just go on YouTube if you really have to. Now, the only flaw to the game, to be honest, is that there was no save file. Because it takes about 5 to 7 hours on average to beat this game. Without a save file, that kind of sucks. But there is a password system. So, I mean, you can still save your game via the password system, but I just think it would have been much better with a friggin' save battery. They're probably just too cheap to put one in because they save a little bit of money. Maybe they didn't have confidence in the game selling really well, so they tried to nickel and dime and save a couple of friggin' bucks, I guess. I don't know. What does a battery cost back then? What, $1 or $2? Like, come on, man. And the password system got criticized because it's very long, difficult passwords. But nowadays, you can just take a picture of the password with your cell phone. So it's not a problem nowadays. Okay, so you have no excuses to not get this game. And what I can guarantee you is that if you do get this game and you actually legitimately play it and give it a shot, you will have the time of your life. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. I'm trying to get to over 9,000 subscribers. On my way to collecting over 9,000 retro video games. Here on this channel, if you're new to my channel, I do all retro games. We're talking NES, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, N64, GameCube, PS1, PS2, Sega frickin' Dreamcast, OG Xbox, Xbox 360, PS3, Wii frickin' U, Nintendo Wii, OG Nintendo Wii. And you know what else I do? I do a lot of Nintendo frickin' Switch. I love the Nintendo Switch, guys. I've got like frickin' 300 Nintendo Switch games. I'm going to have to do a pickup video on that pretty soon. Maybe next week. Hell, maybe next week. Now, if you'll excuse me, I got to go practice my stabbing skills. Now, there's a real life skill. You want a life skill that'll help you survive prison? Start practicing your stabbing.